readied up just like that. Surely this isn't going to be bait. Surely they're not just pretending to want to play. No, it looks
When
like
has
they're
that ever
actually...
happened?
Yeah, they're actually looking to play. Look at that. Look at that. Gamers rolling out to mid. Unbelievable. We are looking at the first round of Granary underway. Trust the process, renamed in an unfortunate way, versus Cool and Good Vibes, trying to make Prem. Round 1 of Premiership Qualifiers. Let's see how this first mid is gonna go here. Derpy a little bit faster. Good old ALX. I don't know what to call him nowadays. I'll just go with ALX. There's the high soldiers bombed coming out of Cool and Good Vibes. They're gonna lose Mix early. Troyes gets deep onto the combo though, manages to kill Doey. So a very successful bomb there. Now they just gotta keep KO alive on the other side. And well, they haven't kept the team alive, but I guess Senko is gonna try his absolute best to run KO out here. And so far so good. They've escaped.
Yeah, you can take that pretty willingly there. Perfectly willing to, given the early circumstance of the medic, got Troy coming in and getting the really early medic pick onto Trust the Process. But interestingly enough, not putting up much of a fight. They sort of fell victim to some unfortunate spawns there, and now they're going to have to really try and shoehorn their way back into this. But looks like Trust the Process are not going to be too risky with it. But obviously, Jordy alone enough to get the force out of KO. And again, Cool and Good Vibes on the back foot, 30% disadvantage, and their flank has been eliminated with the trade from Slash.
Yeah, at least they managed to retake second here. They're going to be able to, keep pressuring forward as well with those soldiers off the board. And yeah, Trust the Pros are just going to have to back out to mid. But they have a tiny ad to work with now. It is really nothing substantial. And, if they don't move quickly, it's basically negligible, especially considering how long their soldiers are going to take as well. They took down Troy on the other side, but he's going to be up again by the time anything really happens here. They are looking to take some ground here, making their way through Garage. Jordy taking a tremendous amount of damage, but somehow living through all of it. And they're going to be, running it into Lunchbox, it looks like, but there's going to be an Uber out the other side very soon as well. So even if they go for an Uber pop here in exchange, it's going to be just that. It's going to be an exchange. And, well, lots of ground for Trust the Process. They're actually just pressuring back the players. And KO's going to get forced. He already drops Senko, and now he's going to drop everybody else who's not anywhere close to the Uber. Meanwhile, no reason to use for the other side. Doey's finally going to just use it into last, and this is a very easy last push for them if they can actually find the frags. They find Philip as well. It's only 3 players left on the defending side. 2 of them are in spawn. Troy's trying his absolute best to solo defend. He manages to get Doey, I guess, with the help of KO, but it's surely not going to be enough. Never mind. They managed to hold it.
Yeah, that was a pretty stellar focus fire at the end there. They knew that they really had to pull something out of the bag just to try and sway those players away from that. The cap time was so painfully close as well that players weren't overly healthy, so they could not afford a mistake at all. As a result, they've managed to get out onto their second. It's going to be a bit of a melee in this yard. A high bomb coming in from Jordy gets a good bit of damage onto Philip. It looks like he will die to Slash, who does get picked off diligently as well. A 50% Uber advantage in the hand of Cool and Good Vibes, and with that player up as well, this could be grounds for them to charge forward, but it seems slightly disjointed. Mix gets picked off as well. It looks like W's been completely lofted as the remaining Trust the Process players recede through this choke area, try to get back into their garage and try and get away from this Trust the Process defensive, as Cool and Good Vibes maintain their Uber advantage here.
Yeah, gotta keep rolling forward as well. That Uber advantage isn't gonna play too much into it if they, don't really pick up the pace here, and they won't into second. I guess they're respecting Trust the Pros a little bit more than they might have to here. So there's gonna be equal Ubers now, as they're gonna be looking into this yard and seeing how they can maybe break the hold here. It's gonna be on Cool and Good Vibes to make the move. They're in the attacker's seat. They're gonna have to try and find a way in. Looks like maybe sending the soldier in through the flank side here. Oh, both soldiers actually gonna go for a little bit of a deep bomb in. Mix kind of just caught on the ground. Troy gets in deep, but just gets cleaned up as well by Pandemic. And somehow Mix actually lives for now. Slash is gonna get picked up on the other side, so counter sack is dealt with. There goes Mix finally taken care of as well. Hemp's gonna pick up that kill, and yeah, that's gonna be Vibes just having to move out and actually probably backpedal a lot. There's counter aggression coming through Garage already by Trust the Process here. They found a couple of stickies there with Philip just stealing some damage, but he's gonna be so caught if he doesn't get his team behind him. Finally he does. And it's just gonna be a nice little fight here. The Ubers get popped, they're being exchanged, everybody's just shiny on the ground, the soldiers fly through the crates. Nobody's dying just yet. It's gonna be in this post-Uber fight, and positioning wise, it looks like it could very well favor Vibes here. They have everybody backed into the corner. That's 3 players down for Trust the Process already, namely ALX as well, so no worries about stickies or anything like that. Just 2 soldiers to protect Doey. And they're gonna have to try here because there's a lot of aggression coming as well. Troy just jumping around, buying a lot of time. He can't quite find the damage. Now Doey's just caught alone, but nobody really seems to want to chase him. They're also distracted by Slash, who just buys his medic a lot of time. Jordy comes in from the other side, but he's just gonna get juggled away as well, and somehow the fight resets at the tail end of this.
Yeah, the fresh spawners from Calling Good Vibes really helped them push that mid over the line. It's nice to see a little bit of back and forth from these teams. We've not really seen anything go the way of either team, but besides that Trust the Process last push. So be good to see how things begin to unfold. We see both teams very, very close to this Uber charge now, and seemingly in the hands of Cool and Good Vibes to make something happen. Mix gets the entry, makes room for Troy coming in. It's going to be a double bomb, of course. Doey's so far back again, and it might be a bit of an easy sweep up. Only one rocket managed to get off onto Doey, who heals up pretty rapid time. And it is going to be down to Trust the Process to make the next move. KO still very much on this mid. It looks like an exchange is almost certainly on the cards. Uber eventually popped a significantly later one there from Trust the Process, but Jordy gets picked off. It's just going to be a case of trying to pick off what they can and trying to retain their players from Cool and Good Vibes, and it's going to be enough to get rid of Trust the Process from their mid for now.
Just kite the tail end of that Uber well enough. Nobody from Trust the Process in really any good position to follow up without putting themselves in harm's way. Jordy already picked off means, you know, they're lacking even more post-Uber fighting. They're just going to have to back out. Now they're going to have to fight in their own yard, as Cool and Good Vibes are just going to keep up the aggression. They find a trade against Tempest here, basically, with Mix getting killed on the other side. There's Slash trying to make some space moving forward. There's Jordy as well. They might be able to catch somebody out here. No, they're just getting picked off themselves. Ninetale's the only player to die on the other side here yet again. Still, Cool and Good Vibes keeping up the player's advantage. They lose Philip though. Pandemic just walks forward, holds W, gets that one, but Doey finally gets picked off by Troy. There goes Pandemic as well. It's only ALX and he just gets cleaned up. So this is a prime opportunity for Cool and Good Vibes to make the takes into loss.
Absolutely. 7 seconds spawn is still for Trust the Process and a full Uber advantage in the hands of Cool and Good Vibes. They're waiting for a couple of their spawners and they're quite happy to do so. They're not looking to take any risks. They don't want to die to a sniper. They don't want to risk a player dropping down and forcing early. They're just going to take their time. They know they've got about 30 seconds to deal with, but this does allow Trust the Process to get some defenses going. Sniper up in the left spawn door. They've got the sentry being built as well, but it's pretty quick Uber coming out of this door. Philip straight up to the Trust the Process door, and they are going to look to push over point near imminently here. No real frag going either way thus far, but Derby Hughes and Slash drop at the same time. A lot of cap pressure coming out as well. Jordy and Hemper's going to have to commit to it, but it's only Troy and KO left, and he is very stuck in the mud. That goes away of Trust the Process there. The frags just didn't come fast enough for Cool and Good Vibes.
Yeah, and then the heavy comes out as well towards the tail end as the Uber fades. Everybody's already low, just sweeps up everybody else who's still remotely close. And just like that, a solid hold by Trust the Process. They take it back out to second. Now they have a full ad to work with and can very well keep rolling this forward. Cool and Good Vibes have to be woefully aware of this. They're not even really trying to hold this aggressively. They're maybe seeing if they can spam something, you know, pick something up with a cheeky sticky trap. It's already been spotted as well. They can just desperately try to get a force out here. And I mean, killing Hempus is certainly going to stunt this push a little bit for Trust the Process here. They're going to actually have to wait a little bit, wait a minute until they can get the full team going again. But just grabbing the ground could help. Oh, actually going to Uber. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I think it may have taken 20 rockets to kill her, but they did get down eventually. Cool and Good Vibes managed to escape with the vast majority of their players. They're back in their yard. They're just keen to build up that Uber advantage, but of course it's a little bit sticky trying to get your players into the sort of pushing into your own garage from your yard. And Trust the Process are quite keen to play it passive, just try and spam these players and make it as difficult as possible, erode the buffs of these players, and the high bomb from Splash comes in, and it's going to be enough to get KO forced, and Philip super weak as well. The chase is not going to be ideal from Cool and Good Vibes. They're just going to have to take whatever they can, and in this case it's going to be just Slash and that capture point.
Yeah, and again, that flips the Uber situation here. Right now, you've got a nice sizable ad out of Trust the Process. Slash is going to be spawning soon enough, and a lot of aggression by Cool and Good Vibes out of the choke here, just seeing if they can bust through. Troy tries to jump deep, just gets picked off by the scouts. Easily taken care of, so no problems there for Trust the Process. They just gotta make their way through here, and now with that full Uber threat, surely they can just pressure out these Vibe players, and that's exactly what they're doing. I mean, if you're contesting this, you might as well just feed yourself, press your kill bind, anything like that. You gotta try and fight this on second somehow instead with those equal Ubers that are gonna be coming up here. And man, they're aggressive on Trust the Process. Hempus is just taking this in all by herself. Finally, the Uber does get popped off. Obviously, it's a bit better for Cool and Good Vibes, but they flash a lot more as well. So it's actually going to run at around the same time now in the post. Uber Doe is going to get picked off first, so no heals here for Trust the Process. That could very well turn the tides of this fight, even if they have a little bit more damage to put out themselves. As long as the other team can bunch up around their medic here, they should be able to win the war of attrition, even if they have to give up some positioning for a little bit. They're not keen on peeking back out either. They respect Trust the Process just a little bit too much, so they're going to give up yard for it, at least for the time being. All right.
Yes. 60% Uber advantage in the hands of Cool and Good Vibes as well. They did a pretty good job of consolidating around KO as soon as Doey died from the blue side, and now they're not looking to hang around at all. They want to apply as much pressure as possible to that red combo, just really deep in the garage, trying to get away with whatever they can and force Cool and Good Vibes' hands just a little bit, try and delay them, try and pick up the odd frag, but it looks like a slight breakdown in communication leads to the death of both Geordie and Pandemic there, which opens the floodgates very much so for Cool and Good Vibes to get in.
Well, Slash is in behind, manages to sneak into Garage, but he's just going to be met by Troy and cleaned up, so unfortunately no play for him. KO, obviously on the other side of the map, isn't going to be in any danger either, so the Ubers are going to be equal, but players are going to be in the favor of Cool and Good Vibes, and they're immediately busting through choke, using that Uber early, just sending in whatever they can, however many players they can, and kind of just getting stuck in bad positions as Philip gets picked off, as well as Mix, and everybody else gets dropped from the Uber or runs away. So it's certainly better for Trust the Process as they now move into mid, trying to go back on this tug of war and just pushing out anybody who even dares to oppose them. Retaking this mid. This has been a long round, just back and forth, huh?
Mix just hit an absolute fucking dinger. It needs to be said.
Okay.
But
I didn't see it, unfortunately.
Cool and Good Vibes back on their own yard. Again, Ubers have had a chance to equalize once more. Trust the Process. Just looking to, again, we've seen the pushes fail at this point so many times either way, you know, we just need to see something decisive now. This is an awfully long round of Granary, 12 minutes in, and neither team seeming to budge just yet. A couple of close calls on the last point, and it's going to have to be perhaps a little bit of a change of approach to try and get some momentum going for more than 1 or 2 points. Yeah,
because even if they manage to get these pushes so far, it's always been not clean enough. They lose too many players on their own side, slows them down, get 1 point. That's all they manage here. Slash trying to go in for a little bit of a sack play, trying to get a bomb in, just gets absolutely denied. I think it was another air shot there by somebody, just basically punching him against the silo. They're gonna try the opposite here as well, but they lose Mix in the meantime, so can't even get in. It's just equal yet again. Both teams really struggling to break the stalemates here.
As is Granary, I fear.
Yeah. I suppose so. Oh. I don't know what to say, man. They're just waiting. Your soldiers again moving in. A little bit of a bomb by Slash. He goes high, goes deep, but just craters in front of KO. Can't even connect the rockets. Jordy dies to the stickies as well. So now it's a prime opportunity. Come on now, Cool and Good Vibes. This is your chance. Send somebody in, make somebody proud. Mix is going to be the one. He's going to move forward, hits a nice little bit of damage there. Gets backed up by the team as well. Finally, they're moving into the point. They're realizing, hey, we can do something. You're trying for high bomb. Lands on top of Doey as the Uber is already popped, unfortunately. But, you know, there's going to be a bit of an exchange. And it looks like it's going better for Trust the Process. They lost ALX, but they got 3 picks on the other side. And Cool and Good Vibes are going to have to run for their lives here because it's going to be a tough one to fight. With so much aggression coming their way, every entrance being covered as well, and they're just gonna have to get out to loss. There's nothing they can do on that second point anymore.
When in positions like this, it's just about trying to slow them down to the point your spawners can come up, try and get some remnants of defense classes going. But they are having to think very much on their toes as Trust the Process are not hanging around. They're all in congested on this right hand side, but not really capitalizing on the high ground at all here, as they managed to lose 2 of their players pretty early doors to no real impact on Cool and Good Vibes, so definitely hands them the baton to try and make their way out here. Troy Mix taking an awful lot of damage up top here, but seemingly doing enough to bring their players forward. Slash managing to get a little bit of a flank going, but gets spotted pretty diligently early on there. Seemingly enough for Cool and Good Vibes to get this cap with the Uber charge being popped. They're still 5% away. This could be disastrous. KO has managed to get it off, but they lose 2 players in the process. Slash and Troy battling it out up top. This is slightly awkward for both teams here, but a slightly more favorable Uber for Cool and Good Vibes. But a really disjointed team. KO left completely on his own. Troy managing to pick up Pandemic. This is a complete mess. It's all down to Senko and KO. They just need to pick off Derby Who's ALX and eventually, that was a real back and forth. That could have gone any way at either point during that.
As an incredible survival artist there by KO as well. Like, 3 people coming after you, you still just evade everybody, have a little bit of protection by your scout. That's all you need. Senko, speaking of, is going to feed into the shutter here, you know, trying to maybe shut down these players a little bit. It's going to be better Uber, situationally at least, for cool and good vibes, but they're still going to have to actually make their way out of the second building, and well, Trusted Process is certainly not giving it up without a fight. They're actually sending Slash in so deep that he has to really waddle his way back out for so long without dying. And yeah, they're just shutting this down, man. They're gonna try to use this Uber. They know they have a bit of an ad. They want to get out of here so bad, but they can't really get anywhere before even having to use. So they're just gonna push it dry, you know, as Trusted Process makes space. Now with Uber's equal, they're gonna re-aggress, see if they can make this exchange maybe favorable in their camp. And yeah, KO just gets forced kind of early. Just has to use early to save his team, save himself, and give up all the positioning they possibly could have had. A little bit of a keen pop there by Joey as well to try and respond to it. I guess expected a bit more aggression out of the Uber than there ended up being, but that's gonna reset it just back to where we were merely 30 seconds ago.
Yeah, these guys are playing a little bit of chess. They're playing very reserved. You can tell that the comms are pretty fire right now as well. The coordination seems to be pretty much on point, as well as the focus calls. But that's what you need to be expecting every single game when you're playing at this level of play. We're 60 minutes in now, yet to see a round turn. Trust the process, trying to get an in through up with both their soldiers and the heals in tandem. Troy manages to sway it away, Slash for the time being, but it certainly exposed a little bit of a vulnerability as both teams are getting pretty close to their own Uber charge. It's going to have to be a bit of a re-evaluation from Trust the Process back in the yard now, and looking to have a bit of an assessment at how they want to try and disassemble this cool and good vibes defense.
They've been trying it before. They've been kind of throwing their heads against the wall a little bit for the past few minutes. So we'll see how they try it this time. Maybe somebody just trying to sneak through. Maybe they're just gonna go for the old exchange again. It is Granary at the end of the day. You don't get as many options as some other maps, and it looks like maybe that's just gonna be a bit of a point pressure here, actually. Yeah, they're just going to have Jordy really, really close, maybe even use the Uber as he turns the corner, immediately responded to by KO. They anticipated it as well as they could have out of either side here. Jordy's just going to solo it. He gets stuck in behind, manages to find Troy, but that's going to get traded out quickly. Then Mix gets picked up by Slesh, so the high ground is now firmly secured by Trust the Process. He gets the kill on Ninetales as well, who picked up Pandemic, so it's still going both ways, but it's slightly better for Trust the Process. It's another great opportunity for them to try and take this into last, even if there's no Ubers in play. Just off the sheer player's advantage themselves. Slash is in deep, gets onto KO, does not nail the air shot though. KO does live, and the rest of his team are just protecting the point from anybody jumping onto it, in this case, anybody being exclusively Hempus, but you know, it's something.
Yeah, the spawns from Cool and Good Vibe came just in time, and a nice serve from KO secured his survival. A couple of frags going on to Trust the Process does mean that Cool and Good Vibes were able to edge their way forward, look to try and make a little bit of space, and bring us back to this wonderful second point. Don't we love to witness 10 minutes of holds here?
I love Granary. I love this map, especially when nobody tries anything special, right? I feel like, given the track record so far, we're gonna see the same exact thing, where they send a soldier in across the point, try to go for the Uber exchange, and then perhaps this time will go a bit better for Trust the Process. Never mind, I'm talking out my butt, because apparently they're going Lunchbox instead. They have to realize, let's not try the same thing over and over. We do know the definition of insanity, and we're not gonna try to live up to it right now. And we're gonna just drop Derpy in Shutter instead, because he's all alone, and Mix is just gonna pick up that kill. And now they have to run away.
Yeah, I think Troy's doing a pretty solid job of holding that upper area as well, but Senko gets dropped, as does KO. The soldier was on them the entire time. That's really unfortunate, but you know, as soon as you lose that first barrier, it's usually a little bit of a write-off, but you wanted some chance of holding this last point. Troy manages to delay the second cap just a little bit with just Ninetales left alive, his own little self, unfortunately unable to provide a contest against those players. That one mistake led to the first round in 20 minutes. It goes the way of Trust the Process. We cannot afford this pace of game for the rest if Cool and Good Vibes want to return.
Yeah, they have to pick up the pace here and bring back around if they want to stay in this. Maybe they're comfortable with it, you know? At the end of the day, it might not be their map pick. Maybe they just really want to say, take this to Bagel and see how that goes. But they gotta pick up the pace a little bit if they want to stay in Granary, if they want to have a chance at taking home the map. At the very least, they put up a good fight for the first 20 minutes. Let's see if they can continue it. Troy bombs in deep early, gets a bit of damage to do it, but can't quite clean it up. He's so low. Somebody kill that medic.
Oh.
Nobody's there to kill the medic. Everybody has died on the other side. Senko's the only one left alive, and he is just being ratted out by everybody. He has to run away. Unfortunately, a very, very unfortunate mid for pulling good vibes.
Yeah, their soldier bombs managed to get a lot of damage over the line, take a lot of position, but unfortunately no frags were converted off the back of it. It's a real sticky situation. It's a bit of a catch-22, but unfortunately did not go their way that time around. And now this is the position you don't want to be in. You know, in the first bit they lost, at least KO managed to survive, and then they had an Uber advantage for second and last. But now trust the process, 70% advantage, all their players getting nice and healed up. And a reasonable defense put up by Cool and Good Vibes. They got their level 3, they've got their heavy, and they've got Troy on the sniper as well. The Uber used pretty rapid out the gate here, and they're looking to try and eliminate ALX. Gets completely lofted in exchange for the gun. I'm just going to see it's a bit of a melee. They managed to pick up ALX eventually here. Just one player down from each side, but the health looking pretty good from Cool and Good Vibes. They just need to chill, just try and get the damage on these remaining players. Pick off anyone they can. And Jordy and Slash going down to the soldier duo of Cool and Good Vibes is insane there. That's exactly what they need. No high ground presence whatsoever. And it's just going to be a little bit of cleanup. Dowie running for his life. It's a bit of a sticky situation. Nintel's definitely has opportunity to get there, and ALX is nowhere near. And that is going to be a nice swish second push out for Cool and Good Vibes. Full Uber advantage in hand, staring down the barrels of Liard.
Yeah, that's a wonderful hold and conversion here for Cool and Good Vibes. They can easily keep this rolling as well. A full Uber, Dowie just now spawning. Nobody to even heal for another couple of seconds here as well. So it's got to be Cool and Good Vibes to lose this really at this point. Mix going down early, trying to get into mid is certainly not going to help there. Really struggling with trying to bust this. A great hold here by Trust the Process, just holding these players off. Nobody can really get anywhere. Troy just getting cut off as well, trying to find anything really, but just gets lofted by these players. And now Trust the Process are looking to re-aggress a little bit again. They know they're going up against an Uber ad here, but they also know that they're up around and they can, you know, afford a little bit of messing around here, at least in some ways. Slash is going to go down, but Jordy gets in deep onto the medic, gets a single rocket, but can't quite get the second one. It's just out of ammo. Unfortunately, you only get 4 shots a soldier, and then you gotta reload for a while, and that's what's gonna shut him down there. But they've bought so much time outside of Trust the Process. This could have been an easy roll into second for Cool and Good Vibes. Instead, they're gonna have to settle for mid, and now they have equal Ubers.
I mean, considering they had that sort of 90% advantage and then they lose both of their soldiers for a medic that wasn't even on 20% at the time, it really slowed it down. It took the wind out of their sails and almost stunted their sort of momentum right at the start. So they're very much sort of staring down a very equal situation, trying to make their way in through choke as they have done before. Troy in super high, but Dowie anticipating it so far back every time, and looks like they're just going to have to call bail on it. They managed to get Jordy. Oh, and Mix manages to elevate Dowie, but not quite enough. The air shot not quite going way they wanted it to, and they're just going to have to back out the players, and not delightfully healthy back on their own mid.
Just gonna have to wait here, heal everybody up, see if they can find a different way into this. Trust the Process just holding on, and with 6.5 minutes left, it's you know, it's enough time to get a round or two. We've seen it done before, but it's also something that you can pretty comfortably sit on and just kind of park the bus. It sucks to have a 1-0 game on Granary. Is one of the slowest ways to win, bar going to golden cap on 0-0. But, you know, if you're Trust the Process here, you can comfortably kind of slow the game down to your pace a little bit and just defend against these incoming soldier bombs. Troy can't quite connect the air shot. Mix is not able to follow up either, and everybody else kind of just gets nuked down by damage. There goes Senko taken care of. KO almost caught, actually has to pop.
No.
Such an unfortunate situation to be in, because now you're going to send in Mix and he's going to die as well. He gets the pop out of Dowie, actually, who goes very dangerously low. But it's still going to be so much better for Trust the Process. They're just going to keep moving this to mid now, and it's going to make it even easier for them to park the bus a little bit if they want to.
Yeah, just point out that red Uber was held for over 2 minutes there. You know, when you're on the back foot, you've got 6 minutes left in the game. need to try and be as proactive as possible. A couple of early deaths when they were sort of attempting a push was really not what they wanted, and sending 4 players in without your heals, with nobody to run your medic out, this is a disaster once again. That KO manages to link up with Troy, but they could be stuck here, provided they don't move pretty quickly. And it looks like they might slip away, but losing the momentum over 2 points, that's tough.
Yeah, this is gonna be another tough last hole for them to do. They will have spawners just about in time. They're gonna have an Uber just about in time as well, as soon as KO can actually connect the beam with somebody, and they're gonna be able to use it to protect the point. Doey in no really position to use as early. He's finally gonna use his own Uber, and it's gonna be way better for Trusted Pro. So much cap time for them as well. They're just cleaning up the players, jumping onto the point, trying to block it. One by one, they're crumbling, but so are they on the other side. Finally, they find the remaining frags they needed, and they make it a second round. Probably putting the final nail in the coffin, unless there's some crazy momentum coming out of Cool and Good Vibes for the next 4.5 minutes.
Well, this is when you really need to be thinking off the ball. You need to be thinking, how can we take the momentum away from Trust the Process? Because what's been happening is every single sack has been the same. You know, Mix baits out and then Troy goes for a high bomb. You know, there's been nothing to really make Trust the Process think particularly hard, so it's just coming to DM fights, it's coming to coordination, it's coming to focus calls, and every single time it appears that Trust the Process are winning. So looks like Trust the Process have to be the ones quick out the gate, though they managed to pick up both soldiers. Doey manages to slip away with ALX. Cool and Good Vibes locking out the mid fight at the start, but that's a very crucial Uber charge to cling on to for Trust the Process.
Yeah, that's going to keep them in this round and potentially even stunt Cool and Good Vibes entirely here, because if they had lost Doey there, this could have been a pretty easy conversion for Cool and Good Vibes, and they're still going to keep rolling forward. They know that spawners are just now coming out. They're actually going to get the force out of Doey pretty early as well, so they're going to have a slightly better Uber.
Oh, no.
Nobody dying just yet as well, but it's only Senko in last. The Ubers are still both active, and KO flash a little bit more now in the post-Uber fight. It's going to be down to who can actually do the best without being shiny, and looks like Jordy's going to be the first casualty, as there's a scout just running into the entire combo. Manages to get a couple of kills here as well on either side. It's still kind of equal for now, a bit better for Cool and Good Vibes. They're gonna have to try and find their way, and Slash gets taken care of very low on the side of ALX as well. Doey is disconnected, so no heals, and they're actually gonna be able to pick up the round.
It's not over until it's over, Surny.
It's
It's
still
not
possible.
over until it's over. But yeah, you saw exactly what they did. They played with a real tenacity there. Sort of, they were players down, they had players capping, they had players on the second point, yet they were still egging themselves onto the last, still applying that pressure to Trust the Process, trying to get it over the line. And yeah, it came good for them. They still got 2.5 minutes coming into what could potentially be the ultimate mid of the game. Both demo men arriving at near the same time, but a clear height advantage there from ALX. Cool and Good Vibes opting for the garage side. Looks like they want to be pretty rapid going into them. Troy and Mix are both in the air. Some really devastating damage onto the combo. It's all about the cleanup here. You got Nintails and Senko all over them, but KO dodging around Jordy's rockets, manages to slip apart and saved by Philip there. It's a 2 versus 2 KO, painfully weak. This could really go either way, but it's not looking good for KO at the minute. In the enemy choke, this is something.
KO, the world's slipperiest man. Somebody oiled this guy up before the game. He is not dying right now. Philip is going to keep him safe as well. Sledge just gets taken care of, disposed of. It's only Pandemic left, and well, he does get the cap off. Now he's going to run forward and trade with Mix at the end of the day. And the rest of Trust the Process are maybe, just maybe, going to try to be a little bit aggressive here, because they know 1.5 minutes is all they got to hold for. They are at, you know, just half an Uber down. Even though Cool and Good Vibes effectively now win the mid-fight after all of that, they're going to have to keep rolling this forward at insane pace. They're going to make use of every single advantage they possibly have, because if they don't, then it's going to be very, very tight in terms of time. They have just over a minute left. They got to get into the second, and the Ubers are equal. This is crunch time. It's do or die time for Cool and Good Vibes. They're going to use the Uber into second here. It's going to be a bit better for Trust the Process because they're a little bit later, but both teams flashing a lot, so in the end, it's going to still be a little bit better for Trust the Process, and they find a couple of kills as well. So it's going to be Cool and Good Vibes just throwing everything they can out at this point. They lose Philip as well. Troy's probably going to get caught in as well. There you go. He's dead. It's only KO, actually. Nintails gets just juggled by a rocket, and KO is probably should have kill bound about 5 seconds before that if he was even trying to still play. But at the end of the day, that's that. That seals the deal.
After such a heroic mid from KO, I could hardly breath air when I was watching that. It seemed like there was a glimmer of hope left, but the both medics escaping with the Uber charge just meant that it was down to trust the process to force a mistake. And we do see the early map change. That is something we
Yeah,
don't like to see, Surdy.
yeah, because you never know what kind of wacky for the logs kills could have happened in those
I
last
wanted
35
Huntsman.
seconds. Yeah, like the 35 seconds at the end of a map are the most important ones because that's when the fun stuff happens that you can put into a frag video, even though it has absolutely no bearing on how the game goes. Either way, I guess it didn't screw up the logs, so we can look at those while the next map loads. Unfortunately, numbers are a thing, even if you hated math class.
Yeah,
You
I
don't
mean,
have to know math for this, actually. You just need to know what number is bigger.
considering the sort of number of rounds in that game, damage across the board,
Very
reasonably
high.
high. Reasonably high. I'll take that. Of course, death's pretty low, but the damage pretty high, and pretty even across the board. No real standout players, of course. All the scouts putting in a real good shift. I mean, you can't expect so two formidable logs out of the soldiers there because when they were in those stalemate situations, they were always the ones to try and shoehorn their way and try and make something happen, throw their bodies on the line, and potentially at the expense of their logs.
Yeah, that's just like the lifestyle of a soldier nowadays, right? I mean, given the damage certainly is something to point out, considering how slow that match was, especially also the discrepancy, right? It was a pretty slow first round, but then also it looked like the trust the process kind of were in control for a lot of the time, and it shows in the overall stats, right? They killed a lot more, they did substantially more damage. Um, like that's a lot to like, you can't just write that off completely. Even though it was slow and very slow for that first round, they put in quite a lot of work somehow.
Yeah, I
Somehow.
mean, I think it's pretty safe to assume that was going to be Cool and Good Vibes pick. It obviously was a map that they appeared to be somewhat comfortable on, but it appeared that they were sticking to a very similar formula throughout, particularly when they were
Mm.
on the back foot, and it seemed to be their sort of Achilles heel at the end of it. And the last time these two teams met 4 days ago, they had a scrim on this very map, Bagel, and Trust the Process won 3-1 in reasonably convincing fashion. So it's definitely cool and good vibes on the back foot, as we anticipated at the start. We should say, just looking at the sort of experience versus experience of both these sides. And yeah, they're going to have to pull something pretty major out the bag or have the DM game of a lifetime.
Well, they were certainly looking like for at least parts of that last map that they were definitely, fighting. They were putting up a bit of a fight. So, depending on how that translates to a completely different map in a completely different game mode and one that they historically against this team struggled against, cool and good vibes could certainly pull a miracle out here. It's gonna depend on that, I suppose. It is at the end of the day the map that people in Europe, at the very least, aren't super familiar with, right? It's not like you've got years and years and years of experience playing this map as you would have on, say, Granary. This since when this is the first season we're playing it, right?
Well, one
I
thing I
think.
do know, oh yeah, it's been played in a couple of preseason cups before, but
I
one thing I
guess.
do know, cool and good vibes. These guys are so keen this weekend. They played the NA Cup, and I believe this was featured. They're getting the reps in, perhaps on
Oh,
100
okay.
more ping than they needed. But they've had a pretty solid weekend of it. Um, and they're looking to sort of knock the confidence of Trust the Process, who I can imagine, although that first map wasn't quite as convincing as they would have hoped for, want to make a return and make a statement that they are not only deserving of that prem spot, but uh, want to succeed once, if and when they do get there.
Yeah, I mean they should be the dominant team. So the fact that they only won 2-1 and let it kind of come down to the wire towards the tail end as well, almost letting it get equalized and all that stuff. Actually kind of maybe putting a bit of a strain on the mental there. We talked about it before we even went live. They were scrimming witness right on Granary and got absolutely shellacked. So I mean it's just a pre-game warm-up scrim or whatever, but sometimes that can also get to your mental, and if you can play the mental somehow, cool and good vibes, they're all about the cool and good vibes. They probably just chilling, having a good time. If they can just you know, hang on to the mental as opposed to trust the process, who might have players prone to tilting or something like that. That could be a difference maker at the end of the day. It's something that's not really easy to quantify, but the mental is a huge factor for a lot of players and can have crazy swings when it comes to these matches.
People certainly can be the victims of their own success. So I guess, just having a brief overview of this map. It is a Koth map. I'm not sure if it's fully confirmed for next season yet, but it's certainly on the cards. Um, it's certainly a slightly more dimensional than product. It's sort of moves away from the excessive sniping, and it's just interesting. It's just nice to see.
It's just something different, you know? We've gotten so used to product that I tend to forget that there are other King of the Hill maps that are actually like somewhat playable in a competitive format. I guess I did play a pug on this once, and there's not a lot of places to stand either. Like a lot of high ground, something like that around the point. I mean, obviously you've got the, Gully Wash style midpoint, but then beyond that, there's a couple of roofs you stand on. It's really just about which side you hold, how you manage to bust through into the houses on either side. Is some interesting strategies you can certainly employ here, and I feel like also opposed to Granary, I feel like not Granary product. Forward holding is a bit easier on this map. I feel because it's like you have less ground to cover. You know, the point is a little bit closer to the connectors and stuff like that. But it's getting too technical. I'm not a map guy. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I don't even play this game.
Yeah, I mean, the crux of that is, compared to product and other maps of the variety, the cap time is really quick. And in
Hmm.
addition to that, you've actually got some cover on your side of the map. You can hide behind that nipple, and you can be on your side of point and still be reasonably concealed from the far back players on the other side of the map. So point play certainly plays a bit more. Um, when it comes to this map. Of course, we know it's a game of time. It's not a game of frags. It's not about momentum in any way. It's just about ticking that time down as much as possible. And talking about ticking time down, I hear the announcer in my ear calling for the commencement of this second map. We believe it is Calling Good Vibes pick. We did just see Granary, which, trust the process, triumphs 2-1 in a grueling 30 minutes. And we're going to have to see what Calling Good Vibes are going to have to do in return to trust the process.
And we'll see how they approach a Bagel, the map that we don't really see that often, and perhaps we'll see very little of this season. This might very well be the only time we see it this season. We'll have to see how teams decide to play with it. Maybe some teams actually really like it. Either way, this first little mid-fight is going quite slowly. Teams just sitting back, spamming each other, getting a bit of cap time now. It's hiding behind that nipple, and it's going so quickly. As we just said, for Trust the Process here, so much cap time already. They're almost able to cap it off without any contention by Cool and Good Vibes. They're finally going to put some players near the point, going to get a lot of cap time themselves now. It is so unbelievably fast, but it gets blocked yet again. All it takes is one player walking on. There is a lot of cap space that you can just stand in to get that timer moving. Finally, it's going to be capped off here for Cool and Good Vibes, and they're going to get their timer taken down first, but nobody died in that fight. Nothing happened. Both Megs have their Ubers, and there's going to be re-aggression here by Trust the Process, as Cool and Good Vibes are kind of just scrambling to see where they can actually hold this, where they can position themselves. Troy's going to be the first casualty without any Ubers even getting popped. It gets traded out finally on the other side for Slash as well, who jumps in deep, doesn't find anything. Point flips yet again, flip-flops back and forth. KO is going to be used as Uber first here finally, and a bit of response by Dowie as well, who flashed a little bit less, popped a little bit later. It's a little bit better, and just like that, they managed to get the point back in their hands, but Mix is on the medic. Can't quite get the kill though. Just barely living there, Dowie. He does stay alive, and they hold on to the point now with a player down for the side of Cool and Good Vibes as well. Finally, it looks like there's just a little bit of slowing down, a little bit of stabilization for the time being.
Yeah, I mean, that plays into exactly the point we were making. There were more caps in the first minute of that game than there were deaths from either side. So we see, again, both Trust the Process going for a slightly aggressive hold. You need to go for these because there's no chance you can deny them on the point. It's just too easy to get that cap. They lose both their soldiers, but going down for Trust the Process. They just got really hermit around KO, but ALX with the flank combined with Slash is going to be enough to pick up KO. Of course, Dowie now spawned due to that early death, and looks like Trust the Process looking for a bit of a reset, looking to position themselves and looking to make it as difficult as possible for Cool and Good Vibes to get on that cap once more.
Yeah, crucially with that aggressive hold as well, even if they lost Dowie, they still kept the point for all this time. No pressure at all until now for Cool and Good Vibes to try and get back onto this point, and Trust the Process are not in the best position to fight. They're going to send in Jordy for a little bit of damage, and that's going to be met with a death on his side as Mix gets traded out on the other side. So just again, point flipping back and forth. It's going to go the way yet again of Trust the Process. It's such a quick cap. It has to, you really have to defend it if you actually want to defend it. And as it stands, Cool and Good Vibes are going to try their best to get it on their side, but Emphasis is going to have a word with that. Just stand on the point for a while, denied him a little bit of cap time. And the Uber actually gets popped out of Doe early here. They know they have a bit of an ad. KO is nowhere near his Uber yet. He gets caught on the ground as well. And everybody else around is going to get cleaned up. Nobody in Trust the Process side, even dying Pandemic going so low, but not getting cleaned up. There's a bit of aggression now. Philip jumps in, gets a couple of kills, but crucially, only now Doe gets cleaned up. So the point's still in control of Trust the Process. They lost their medic yet again. They're gonna have a bit of a disad, but they still have the point, and the timer is now a minute ahead.
Yeah, in spite of how these flanks are really close quarters, and when you've got players down, it's really hard to sort of anticipate these players coming out of the woodwork. You saw those Cool and Good Vibes players just piling in from 3 different directions, and ultimately managing to get Doey with relative ease compared to sort of how much protection he had around him. And again, it's put them on the front foot to try and get on this cap once more. Philip completely elevated by Geordie, a nice air shot to follow as well. They lose 2 players, and again, you see in the aggression, Doey gets picked up by Troy. Emphasis on an 8k as well, although not quite good enough to keep Doey alive just that time. So KO handed a full Uber advantage, a decent bit of cap time from Cool and Good Vibes, but as we know, that's not all too important on this map.
It's a beautiful sack wave you love to see in a King of the Hill match. Now you just gotta convert that sack wave advantage into an actual push that works, and Mix going down to the sticky trap is certainly not going to help, and they might just have to use here if they're not careful. They're gonna keep Uber alive for now. They managed to take care of Slash. Now Jordy's in with a lot of aggression, and if they can't keep KO safe, it's gonna be dangerous. He holds on, he's got the balls of steel, but if they want to make something happen, they gotta get on this point. They're 2 minutes behind. They gotta get the cap time going. Even if it is a very quick point, they have to clear out these players, and ideally mount some kind of hold afterwards. They even use the Uber. A bit of a questionable pop, honestly, but if they manage to chase it, at the very least they get Doey, so it is still a decent one at the end of the day. And they're gonna have to just try and hold this for 2 minutes now. With such a fast cap, they basically have to have somebody babysitting on top of it 24/7, because a single scout being unattended for a few seconds could really put a dent in that.
Yeah, Philip came in with some pretty incredible pipes there as well, just to seal the deal off, get Doey picked off as well. You're seeing the high bombs coming in from Slash immediately. It looks like they're really keen to eliminate KO, and it looks like that chaos was just enough for them to pick up a couple ancillary players as well. Alex so desperate to get onto the medic, but seemingly create enough distraction to just push all of the Cool and Good Vibes players off of that point, next to themselves the first round. Yeah, just let too much time slip sort of during the mid-map there. Cool and Good Vibes just handing it to Trust the Process at the end. It was a real uphill battle in this first round.
And it's gonna be perhaps another one, depending how this next one goes. Maybe, just maybe, people are gonna go in a little bit early, a bit more aggressively this time before the point is unlocked. Or maybe we're gonna be seeing yet another round where there's 5-point flips before the first player dies. I suppose that's going to be up to the teams, how they approach this. As of right now, they're perfectly content sitting back, and it's a bit better position for Trust the Process. They've just like taken a bit more ground. They're feeling a bit more aggressive. They already grabbed the point just like that. It is very quick, and they're going to be having their timer tick down first, even if just for 10 seconds. It's going to force these Cool and Good Vibes players on the point, and they're going to be able to pick up Troy just because of it, as he's being was a bit extended. And the Uber actually comes out of Cool and Good Vibes early here. Okay, quite an ambitious one. They're going to have to backpedal immediately. They managed to get Doey to use his, obviously, but actually, they're not going to be able to chase much of it at all. Okay, it's just a reset. For now, anyway. Mix jumps. Okay, he gets cleaned up.
Oh, no.
KO died. Oh, no, I didn't even see Slash jump in. Oh, no.
Yeah, I mean, things were on the back foot within the first 10 seconds of that round for Cool and Good Vibes. Their players just took so much damage. They got that first cap, but their players just too weak to get a reasonable sort of spring trap re-aggression onto the cap. It bubbled over into those Uber exchanges, and then right at the end, at the outlast, Slash manages to get in, eliminate 2 players, and it backs out. This is exactly what you need to tick down the time. They have a near minute advantage already, and they are all pretty healthy getting onto this point. Looks like there's a bit of an attempt to get onto Doey. A nice rocket from Mix, gets some decent chunky damage going, but well protected by all 5 players left alive for Trust the Process.
Somehow, throughout basically what equates to a sack wave, they managed to flip the point just like that, leave a scout behind with the med just capping while everybody else suicides in for the medic. So I guess they ticked off 10 seconds. But is 10 seconds enough to sacrifice 4 players for? Not even getting the medic either, so you're still gonna have to deal with equal situations and a pretty aggressive hold out of Trust the Process that you somehow have to get through as well.
Ooh, wow.
Well, you have to try. It's certainly something to bust. Slash gets picked off for being a bit too extended, but is it gonna be anything else they can follow up on as well? They're so low. They had to bust through that so aggressively to try and get in and get some positioning. They're finally gonna be able to point out outside Cool and Good Vibes and almost flip it as well before the Uber comes out of Trust the Process. It's gonna be responded to. It's gonna be a bit better for Cool and Good Vibes, and it's gonna be enough to give them the point. But is it gonna be enough for them to hold on to? That's gonna be on his post-Uber fight. They lose Mix. They find ALX at the very least. But there's, Trust the Process already moving forward on the other side. They just retake the point.
Yeah, you can see there's a real split between these players as well. KO and Nintails left completely isolated on that right side. And luckily, Troy managed to get in and hit a pretty nice round of rockets onto Doey as just a bit of a return. But you don't really want KO to be in that position in the first place and rely on Troy to pull out these clutch plays, particularly when you're more than a minute and a half down in this second round.
You gotta start getting some time on that point down, man. Like they managed to flip it occasionally, but they've only ticked down half a minute so far, while Trust the Process are about to basically win the map again, or at least the round. So they really gotta start putting some pressure on that. They lose Troy again. Heaven's gonna pick up that kill on the side. They lose Mix as well. So again, they grab the point, but they're gonna have to immediately give it up. Ninetales also gets fed in on the right side, so it just backed off again. They have a slight ad, but it's nothing to work with whatsoever. They just have to bunker themselves up in lobby here. Alex is gonna have a word with that as well, just pressure them back even further, basically bully them out to spawn. And with 20 seconds left, it's do or die time for Cool and Good Vibes. They have to get onto that point. They have to get through here somehow, because otherwise, there's no chance of them getting this round done. Doey, nice little surf to get out of the harm's way there as well. And it's gonna be a new exchange. Jordy's gonna crater himself, and Alex is gonna get picked up as well. So this could actually be decent for Cool and Good Vibes, but crucially, Doey didn't have to pop.
Yeah, with 2 minutes left to tick down and 1 second on the clock for Trust the Process, it's going to be really sticky with Cool and Good Vibes. We know how quick this cap is. They cannot let the finger off the trigger once. And if you're leaving a player on that cap, perma, they're going to die pretty rapid. Particularly with Trust the Process coming in with a 50% Uber advantage. It's only going to be Senko and Philip on the cap. Then they come straight over with the Uber charge, just looking to charge out anyone in the way. 3 players going down near instantly, and the high ground very much being played by Trust the Process. A couple of players left to sweep up, and this could only really go one way. A diligent effort there from Cool and Good Vibes, but they're having to make up an extreme time deficit, and it's really forcing their hands.
And just like that, we're already on the match point for Trust the Process. They can close it out right now if they just win this next round, and it looks like there's some sort of... I just realized the config's kind of messed up, and I'm sure these teams will realize once the next round is played that they need to fix the config. But yeah, this could be the final one already. Trust the Process could close it out to secure themselves another match in the Premiership Qualifiers and maybe get a shot at making it to Prem this season. And, well, Cool and Good Vibes are going to have to step up their game if they even want to have a shot at it at this point. They're down a map already. They're down 2 rounds on the second one. All it takes is to lose this one, and they're out. And they're just going to have to settle with playing Div 1 next season. As it stands, well, they lose Mix early in this little scramble for the point. They send in Troy deep as well, but he can't quite find the kills he wants. And Philip gets cleaned up as well by Slash, who's just slipped in behind, who's now dismantling the combo as well. Jordy's there to follow up, and he gets the kill onto KO. The scouts are just scrambling, trying to make something happen, but they get cleaned up. And just like that, it's another dominant mid-fight now for Trust the Process.
Yeah, it looked like Slesh was able to act as a perfect sheepdog there, herding KO, separating him from his 2 remaining players, and that late death is pretty punishing. A full Uber advantage now in the hands of Trust the Process. A pretty aggressive hold as well, just looking to get some nice early damage on these downhill players. It's going to be a sack coming out, 2 explosive classes in, and oh, the rocket's perfectly coordinated with Phillips pipe onto Doey. That is going to be a drop, a 50% add now to Cool and Good Vibes, but not too many players alive. They're just chilling in spawn, waiting for Mix and Troy to come up once again and then try and make their way onto this point. They've got to be pretty careful about any hidden surprises from Trust the Process. There are some real rabbit warrens that they can fall victim to here.
There's a lot of cheeky hiding spots in these connecting areas between spawn and point, and you gotta really watch out that nobody's hiding in some cheeky kind of corner. It turns out there wasn't. Trust the process are just kind of gonna realize the situation here and give them the point for now. They know they've already taken down almost half their timer. Troy gets cleaned up on the side as well as he's a bit extended on the flank, just left alone. Jordy manages to slip through and actually kill Ninetales as well. The cap still hasn't been gotten for Cool and Good Vibes either. They finally get it, but it took them so long. They've already got half the timer down on the other side. They have to hold on to this, but they're down 3 players. That Uber comes out as well as KO just gets juggled and has to basically just connect with Philip to keep him alive at this point. They find Doey and all of that. Somehow Philip just hitting some nasty little pipes and all that stuff, but they still lose the point again. They get some nice frags, but they lose the point again. They can't keep the point pressure up, and now they have to try and get it again.
Yeah, I mean, we're nearly sort of 3-4 minutes into this game now, and they've got 18 seconds worth of cap time. The amount they're able to get is slipping with every single round that passes, and it looks like Trust the Process are sort of exploiting that, really forcing their hands to get onto point whenever they possibly can. Oh wow, a nice rocket there as well from Troy onto Geordie, picks him off, but not enough to keep Philip alive there, and calling good vibes in a real sticky situation, just trying to do anything they can to get onto this point and get onto Doey.
Yeah, or just like get players off the point so they can finally cap, which is what they're gonna do. Evidently, finally. Troy again tries to go in deep but can't find anything crucial. ALX just kind of left alone for a while, but nobody really wants to clean up that frag either. And it looks like Cool and Good Vibes just kind of content with just sitting on the point for now. Haven't seen if they can hold it for a little bit at least now. There's going to be aggression by Trust the Process. Both teams having their Ubers. Phillips just going to get dropped before the Ubers even pop. Finally comes out of Cool and Good Vibes. Doey in no danger for so long. Only a single scout in his face. Just body blocked by 2 on the other side. Finally, the Uber faded. And just like that, KO gets cleaned up already. Slashing with a bomb as well. Cleans up Mix. The counter Uber doesn't even have to come out. Doey's just going to chariot both his scouts. Okay, maybe he's going to have to pop to that. Troy manages to force that out. Ninetales is still alive as well, but he's getting pincered by 2 scouts as we speak. And just like that, yet again, they lost the point. Now 40 seconds left for Trust the Process. 2 minutes left for Cool and Good Vibes. It's a uphill battle here, man.
Yeah, it's coming towards the final stages potentially of this round, and it appears as though Cool and Good Vibes have a real uphill battle on their hands. Both teams have all of their players alive, but not looking too healthy on the side. Cool and Good Vibes, they're just trying desperately to get onto this point. Getting absolutely mowed down. Philip managed to get a couple of nice pipes to sort of tick them over, but unable to get any real meaningful position here. 5 seconds remaining. It's going to go into overtime with 2 minutes remaining on their clock themselves, and it is a real struggle to be living in so many already.
To KO, who almost had Uber. It was 3% off. If they could have somehow kept their medic alive here, that would have been an okay opportunity to hold, but with that, it's such a nail in the coffin here. You're just fighting a war to lose at this point. They're trying to absolute damnedest to hang on. Mix is so low. Ninetales ain't looking much healthier either. They've got a couple of respawn reinforcements coming in. Mix gets taken down. Ninetales gets taken down. KO is so low, can't even get to the point to keep Philip safe. And just like that, Trust the Process take it home 3-0.
Of course, this is not it for Trust the Process. Of course, Prem veterans in their own right, it is not over for them. They have got to play a second round later in this week or next week against 2038, which is made of some very familiar Aura Electro-esque faces who have got to by themselves due to past experience. And that is going to be an ultimate challenge. A real valiant effort there from Cool and Good Vibes. A solid Granary. It was their pick, but they certainly excelled themselves based on past results against this team. So with that, they should hold their heads high and be pretty hopeful about the season going through in Div 1. And with that, I think it might be slightly tragic to look at the logs, but should we anyway?
I mean, it shows a pretty one-sided experience. Tempest with a 27-1 KD. That's
That's all right, isn't it?
Slash with over 400 damage on Soldier. Matter of fact, the only player not getting above 300 on Trust the Process was Pandemic, and that's just probably because he died a couple of too many times or whatever. Yeah, that's this is a massacre.
Yeah, I mean, she was clearly going for the perfect game and nearly attained. I'd be intrigued to see when that first death actually was. But yeah, I mean, not a lot to say, but a real brave effort there from Cool and Good Vibes, particularly on Granary. But trust the process. This map really does play into their strength, so it was always going to be a bit of a tie up for them.
Yeah, I mean, valiant effort, valiant effort. That's all I can really say about it. Philip putting down some nice numbers though. Philip, honestly, putting his back into that game there, trying his absolute damnedest. But unfortunately, when you have six players playing kind of well, one player is unfortunately not enough to oppose that. So you know,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
it's a sad reality, and it's a team game. At the end of the day, you kind of gotta have everybody on game, and tonight it looked like trust the process. At least after a bit of warm up time, we're on their game, especially on Bagel. Yeah, just dominant.
Yep, so Trust the Process managed to close it out in two maps. They play against 2038 in what will be their final game of the qualifiers. The winner of that will get the seventh spot in Prem. And there will be some other coverage as well for Comedy Shorts Gaming against Fifth. Again, only one of those two teams is going to be able to get into Prem. I think there's one thing for certain. It's going to be a pretty competitive season across the board. Some old players come out of the woodwork, some real strong and fortified teams. It's going to be certainly a very meaty season. But of course, two more matches of qualifier action. Hopefully, you can catch them here in the coming days. I'd like to thank JMax once again, one of the many unsung heroes of production who come in here week in and week out,
Woo!
near thankless. And of course, a thank you to Surny and you wonderful viewers.